Welcome to another mini episode of Relationscapes. It's the podcast where we map the stories and ideas that shape who we are and connect us with each other in order to feel a little less alone and build a better world. And this happens to be our 50th episode. Yes. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're with me as we hit this milestone together. Wow, that stopped abruptly. I'm journalist Blair Hodges, joining you from Salt Lake City. I thought it would be cool to go back through some past episodes and revisit some of the great moments. But the truth is, I'm actually way too busy for that. But I did have time to throw together a few clips where guests are flattering me. So partly because it just feels nice to hear them, but also because I think they might inspire you to get into the back catalog if you haven't. 50 episodes strong there. Okay, take it away, guests.
Yeah, again, it's really funny because I don't think I've put this together until you asked these very insightful questions.
Well, that's a good question, and thank you for that, Blair.
I love that question. I hadn't thought of it in that language before.
I say you have to be thoughtful about curating space with people. I think even this conversation with you, realistically, even what we were just talking about with the Airbnb thing, I haven't laughed about that, publicly, ever. Right? This is the first time I've actually laughed about it because I'm so removed from it now.
Yeah.
And I thank you for that because I do think that you've created a space between two men for healing and growth and just being alive.
These are awesome questions, by the way. You're killing it. I'm like, this is like the best podcast I've done.
You are a great interviewer, Blair, and as people who interview people for a livelihood, it's a pleasure to be interviewed by someone who is as thoughtful and prepared and fun as you are. So thank you for having us.
Well, don't forget to rate and review the show, Vanessa, when you get a chance.
5 stars. I haven't rated and reviewed my own show, but I will come and rate and review your show because it's such a pleasure.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow. All right. Well, with that bit of self-indulgence out of the way, I'm going to introduce our mini-episode guest. She's a hero of indie podcasters such as myself, Lauren Passell. She's founder of Tink Media and author of Podcast the Newsletter. It's a great newsletter that highlights the best of the podcasting world, and I actually made an appearance there when Lauren recommended her favorite Relationscapes episode, The Truth About Transracial Adoption with Angela Tucker. Angela's an expert in that subject, having been adopted herself as a black child into a white family. And the main reason her interview struck a chord is because Lauren is a white mother of an adopted child who's black. So today, Lauren opens up about that episode and the joys and challenges of raising a child in an open adoption. And we explore questions about race, family, and community. So putting those two episodes together just broadens our perspective once again. And those perspectives and those stories could just keep stacking up and weaving together. That's what Relationscapes is about, really. All right, without any further ado, episode 50 with Lauren Passell. Lauren Passell, welcome to Relationscapes.
Thank you for having me on one of my favorite podcasts. I wrote about it in my newsletter before
Yes.
you even asked me to be on it. So
Yes, thank you.
It's really surreal.
Well, the feeling's mutual. The newsletter is great. It's Podcast the Newsletter, easy to remember. You basically just talk to people about the podcasts that you're finding, and you make great recommendations. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I've picked up many good recommendations. Speaking of which, you must just listen to a ton of podcasts because you're finding a lot of, I think, more kind of obscure podcasts. It's not just like the top 10 charts. You're like, oh, this episode was good. You're finding some podcasts that people aren't hearing about otherwise.
People often ask me what my favorite kind of podcast is, and I always say it's the kind of podcast that makes me say, I didn't know that could be a podcast.
Yeah. And it's what I love about podcasting too. If you like something, there's probably a podcast about it. So one of the things that stood out to you about this show was an episode about transracial adoption. I interviewed Angela Tucker. She's a terrific consultant and with a social work background who herself was a transracial adoptee. She's black and was adopted by white parents and talks about her experience. And this episode stood out to you because you are on the other side of that story as a white parent who adopted a black child. So I want to start with your adoption story, why you and your partner chose adoption to begin with.
Yeah, and I should say I was so excited and grateful for that episode because going up to the adoption process, there was not a lot of resources. And I don't think I had to unlearn a lot about adoption. And Angela has a podcast that it's not going anymore, but I listened to every single episode multiple times.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that she was on your show, I was like, thank goodness more people, like someone else, like, and I knew you, so I knew it was going to be good. And like, so anyway, just really grateful that you offered that wonderful conversation. And it was strange because it was like, my daughter was a month old when it came out and the show was brand new. So anyway, it seemed perfect. It seemed like it was a gift to me from the gods. But I oddly wanted to adopt when I was a little girl. This goes back to when I was 5. I wanted my parents to adopt. I really was pushing
Oh.
for it, which is strange.
Are you an only child?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you want to get a little therapeutic about it, because I think about this all the time, my mom had some miscarriages, and I think I might have picked up on not being able to have a baby. Like, I feel like I might have thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to have a baby, maybe. So adoption has been something I've been thinking about ever since I can remember, and I've always been interested. And I told my husband before we got married, I said, I don't want to do IVF, but we can try to have a baby at some point.
Was he up for that too? Was he like enthusiastic about having kids, or was he like, okay, kids, that's something I can do?
We were not sure if we wanted to have kids ever. And I feel like it was like we'd go up and down. And it was really during the pandemic when we were stuck inside, and we were like very blessed in that we were okay during the pandemic and safe, despite the fact we were in the heart of New York City where everyone was leaving and it was scary. But we were okay. And actually we like became much closer, and we were like, oh, we don't need a million other things. We need ourselves and each other, and we could bring someone else into this. And I was a little bit older at that point too. So we tried for a little bit, and my doctor was kind of like, you can do IVF. That's kind of the next thing. And I was like, no. So we waited about 3 years, and we chose an agency that really seemed to prioritize the birth mother. We did a lot of looking around. And for us, we had to make this little book that was like, pick me and Justin, and like,
it's a little bit of marketing there, and you're in marketing. So
it's really funny too. My husband is a designer, and they'll make the book for you, the agency. Yeah. And he saw the books that they made, and he said, no way are we using their design. Yeah. He made his own. We had our own special book. I'm not sure what impact that had on the birth mothers. But anyway, so then, they told us 2 years kind of, there's a line, like, don't even plan, like, travel, go crazy. Of course, this was in COVID, so we couldn't travel, but they were like, it's not happening for 2 years.
Yeah, do your thing, yeah.
But it really was 3 years, and we honestly were about to give up. It was December 2023, and it had been 3 years. And we just hadn't really gotten much. And it's hard on you to be waiting. Your life is on hold. You're kind of like, you can't move. You couldn't move because we had our house study. Like, it was really hard. And we were at dinner with a friend. And actually, I don't know, you might want to cut this out. We were at
That's
dinner.
usually when I want to leave something in, is when people say, you might want to cut this out.
Well, we were on mushrooms.
Okay.
At dinner. But we were at dinner, and we were kind of decided, we're out. We're done. We can't do this to ourselves anymore. And we started to make a list with my friend. And we were like, what are all the things we're going to do? Because we had been like making these plans, like saving money. And like, we were like, what are we going to do with all our love and extra time? And we didn't want to just be like, oh, continue life as normal. It was like, okay, we're not doing this. What are we doing instead? You have to do something instead with our lives. So we made this fun list of things to do. Then literally 1 week later, went to Ohio to be with my family. It was December 20th, my dad's birthday, back for his birthday, December 20th. We're going to break the news to my family that we're taking our name out. And this was going to break everyone's hearts. Only grandchild on that side.
Yeah. Feels like they'd feel like it's giving up.
I wasn't sure if my mom would be okay. Honestly, I really wasn't. And we got an email from the adoption, from our support person over there. And she said, can you talk today on email on the way to the airport? And we were like, I bet. Because they were supposed to tell us if our book was even with a birth mom. And we hadn't even gotten that note.
And saying, can you talk is different than like, that's much more serious than just an email.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to like talk with us live?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we just thought, I bet she's leaving the agency and she wants to tell us because there's been nothing. So we were like, sure, like not even thinking anything. And then we get to the Cleveland airport. We're at the airport. I'm sitting on my suitcase. We're on opposite sides of the hallway talking to her. And she goes, you've been picked. And we were like,
Oh.
we didn't even think that was, because we had no idea our book was even being seen.
Yeah.
So we had a call with, and it's funny because I went home and we said, we were picked. And everyone was like, yay. And I said, but what about that list?
Yeah. Now you've got the list.
The list was so fun. And it's funny because sometimes people would be like, no, people are always like, you can still do the list. I'm like, that's cute.
Kind of, yeah.
You didn't see the list, you guys. But I can do part of the list. But what I'm doing now is better. And we talked to her the next day, the birth mom, and it was immediate. Like we didn't, like my husband and I didn't even have to have a conversation. It was like, oh, immediate yes to
Wow.
us.
Yeah.
And I said, why did you pick us? And she had a few reasons, but one of them was because I love Disney. And
Yeah.
you said you love Disney. And I was like, I knew this would come in handy sometime. My love
People
for
make
Disney.
fun of Disney adults, but I kind of
don't know.
am one. And yeah, if I didn't live in Utah, if I lived in California or Florida. But that's so she kind of had a common vibe with you, it sounds like then. She's like,
Yes.
Disney.
Yes. So then, yeah, we had like 2 weeks notice, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
No, 3 weeks notice. And, they tell you not to buy anything because it's kind of heartbreaking to have baby stuff around your house. So we
Oh, yeah.
kind of snapped into gear. And, I own my own business. So I kind of had to say, hey, everybody, I'm
Mm-hmm.
leaving. So it was a really snap into gear, get our apartment ready for a baby and buy everything. And, I, got to be with her in the delivery room. This woman
Oh,
let
wow.
me in to the delivery room. It's
Wow.
so rare. I got to spend time with her in the hospital, spend time with her other children, which was
Mhm.
incredible.
And by the way, a
I-
lot of people who, it's not uncommon for someone with kids to give a child up for adoption. That's not unusual.
Right. In fact, I kind of worry about that because, I know that Stella will probably wonder,
Why me kind of a thing.
right,
Yeah.
right. There's so many reasons that this woman just couldn't do it
Yeah.
at that time. So many reasons. But so we got to spend a lot of time with her and we maintained a great relationship with her. And I actually took Stella down to be with her for her first birthday.
Oh, wow.
And the entire family came from all over, grandmothers, great grandmothers, cousins, aunts. And the only thing I could think of, because I didn't know, I was really nervous to go down there. I could, not because I didn't want to, I just didn't know how I would feel. Because I was like, I can't even ask anyone
Right.
about this. You can't
Right.
prepare.
No,
said
I
it-
don't think you can truly anticipate it. It's a completely unexperienced thing.
I said to Justin, it's like we're going into space. Like we could get bloody noses. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So all I could think of was my family is so amazing. Like it's just these people are treating me like I'm in their family and they love Stella so much. And anyway, it was one of the most amazing things. And I'm just really proud of my family. And I know that it's not going to be easy. And the adoption industry is really screwed up. And I actually try not to lead thinking of that too much.
Yeah.
Be very, very aware of it without obsessing over it because I don't want that to let me lose sight of things.
And plus, like, you are a family. That's the number one thing is regardless of the state of the system, like here you are, you have a child, you and your partner are raising, and you're maintaining a connection with, this is a big part. Angela talks about the difference between open and closed adoptions. And, with closed, the kid is not supposed to know their birth family, at least until the age of 18.
Right.
And did you have a choice to do that? Or are you in an area where adoptions had to be open?
We want it open.
Okay.
And it's funny because I do think we did a lot of research and I grew up in the 90s when every single Lifetime movie, Unsolved Mystery was open adoptions are terrifying. You should never do them because the birth mom is going to come back and kidnap them. Like every movie, like, oh my God. And I think there's a lot, people are still kind of shocked to this day. They're like shocked that I wanted an open adoption, which surprises me. But it's so much healthier. There's less of a mystery. I can call her birth mother and be like, ask about health stuff. It's just more love, less mystery. So, but I did have to unlearn a lot of stuff about adoption in general. But it's funny because, you mentioned in that episode with Angela, the not seeing color, and it's like because
colorblind
and
idea.
it's talking about the like
That's
not
how I was
obsessing
raised.
over things. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was kind of popular in the 90s too. And the other part of the story is my husband is Asian.
Yeah.
So we just are confusing everyone.
And you're
But-
white. So
and I'm white.
Mom, Asian dad, and a black adoptee child.
Right. And so race has been a part of my family conversation long before we wanted to even have children. So, but the thing is, it's like, I know that she's black, and that is a really important part of how I'm raising her.
Mhm.
I'm making sure to have especially strong black women in her life. When I told people about her, the black women in my life came out of the woodwork to help me.
Mm.
And I thought, I don't know if this is for me. This is for her. This is
Yes.
for Stella. They are coming for her.
That's
they,
right.
They come out. And so much love and support. But I don't want to obsess over it too much at the same time, because at the end of the day, I don't want to say I don't see color, but like when I'm walking her around, I'm just, she's my daughter and I'm her mom, and it's not, and sometimes I'll see someone look at us funny, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like oh yeah, people
Oh.
are confused by this. I have to constantly
Yeah.
remind myself, like, oh, people have some questions, and they have a lot of questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what are the kind of questions that you get? And are these from strangers? These from people you know? And I imagine some of these questions aren't like great questions. Like what are the questions that you're like, it's probably better not to ask that one, you guys?
Well, right off the bat, when I told people I wanted to adopt, I mean, even a long time ago, before I even put in, really formally went to do this, it was a lot of women saying to me, you don't want to adopt, you want your own baby. Like suddenly becoming very invested or thinking they knew me better, saying things to my mother, no, she doesn't, like, or me being like, yeah, I didn't want to do IVF. No, you can try harder, do this. I did this. I know someone, everyone would say, I know someone who was 50 and had a baby. And I was like, cool. Like, I don't like people. So that was the first thing that is annoying. The second question, the thing that it really annoys me is people being like, oh, it's so good of you. I'm like, no, it wasn't. I had to wait. There is a line of people who want to do this. I'm not a saint. I'm not. That's something, the unlearning that I'm trying to help people understand. I am not, please. I'm a selfish person. But now it's more just stuff like, oh my gosh. Okay, so people are always like, the doctor the other day was like, are you her grandmother? Which confused me. And I was like, I think it's also because I'm old, but also like, how could I be her grandmother? Anyway,
I don't think
my
you're
neighbors,
old. Okay.
my friend was over, and my neighbors, when I was new, thought that my friend was my daughter because they knew, never mind. It's just people are looking at us like, what's going on? And
Are you the type of person that people shouldn't ask how old you are?
no, I love saying, I'm 41.
Yeah.
I love saying
yeah.
it. I love it. I love being 41. I
Well,
can't wait to be
that can't
older.
be old because I'm 43.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm very young then. I'm a baby. But one of the things that really stuck out to me, because I re-listened to the episode this morning and had similar notes than listening the first time.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see my notes twice. But the thing that stuck out to me the most that was different from this time and last time, when Stella was 1 month old, and now she's like 16 months old, was Angela talks about feeling like she only made sense when she was with her mom in where she grew up, because it was a lot of white families.
Yeah, it's like Washington State.
Yeah.
She was one of the only black people around, so.
And in my case, it's often the opposite, because I live in West Philadelphia, and we live in a really diverse neighborhood. And I mean, my entire family stands out, but people will see Stella, like even when I see her at the playground, if she's like on something, like I'm near her, but people aren't confused until I go up to Stella. Like they're like, oh, why is that woman with Stella? Or they don't think I'm her mom. They're like, where? The other day, someone said, where's her mom? I'm her mom. Something very strange happened the other day. And I'm still unpacking it. And I've told a few people, and everyone has a different reaction to this story. So I can't wait to hear what your reaction is. But it was about to rain. No, it had rained earlier. And I was like, I got to get this girl on the playground. We got to get some energy out. So I'm pushing her in her stroller to the playground. And there is a young kid looks maybe like 17, walking in the opposite direction. And he crosses the street and he comes over to us. And he says, "You all good here?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Why are you taking her out in the rain?" And I said, "It's not raining anymore." And he said, "Are you her mother?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, he walked around the stroller and he said, "You're her mother." And I said, "Yes, I adopted her and I'm her mother." And he looked at me and he said, "Do you know her real mother?" And I said, "I know her birth mother. I'm her real mother."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Just wanted to make sure you all were good here." And he turned around and walked away.
Mm.
And that story, that is the confusion that we're getting. And I feel like it's kind of like this was a young Black boy who saw maybe looking out for his own. I don't know. I don't know if he thought I kidnapped her, but that's the level of confusion that I'm causing in my neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, what stands out to me is, just deep traumas inflicted on Black communities. And that's a really terrible and hard thing for you to experience. And I also understand the context of why those kind of questions would be asked. I mean,
yeah, I get it. And I understand coming into this, there's a lot of people that don't think that I should be Stella's mom.
right. And you knew that even beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
How did you work through that? Like, what kind of thinking got you through those questions?
I still am working through it. And what I realized was, God, I've never talked about this before. This is a therapy session for me, Blair. I think at first because the other thing is I didn't say I want a Black baby.
Right.
I said, let a birth mother choose us.
Yeah.
We said we were open to everything. Also, we're already a biracial family. And they told us at the beginning that it'd take longer to get chosen because we're a biracial family because we didn't look like a traditional family.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why it took so long. But I'm glad it took so long because I have Stella. But I feel like at first I was almost not apologizing, but being very maybe apologizing, be very I know that there's people that don't think I should be your mom.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted people to be aware of that.
You wanted people to know that you knew.
Yeah. And it didn't take long for me to realize, though, you can't go in with that.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't matter. And people are going to think what they're going to think, and it doesn't affect my day-to-day. And I used to think, I heard Glennon Doyle say this once.
Maybe on a podcast, maybe?
Yes. How when she married Abby, she had to come out as gay and she had children with a man and her family wasn't supportive of it. And she said, okay, I'm not letting the drawbridge down to people that aren't supportive of our love because my children are fine with this. So you're not allowed on my island. When you're ready, the drawbridge will go down and you can come. But until then, the drawbridge is up. And I thought about that a lot. And I told our caseworker that story. And she said, you can't keep the drawbridge up. She's going to be around in this world. And I was like, oh, yeah, you can't keep the drawbridge up. So I just have to not let it affect the kind of mom I am. I can't do that. I just can't. I'm there for her. I can't let that affect me too much. I don't want to go in with that thinking. I want to go in with awareness and sensitivity. And that's why I love hearing from someone like Angela.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I did a little too much Reddit reading before I did this because I want to hear the hard adoption stories. On Instagram, you see the good ones. I wanted to hear all the hard stuff. And I think I almost did that too much. That would be my advice. Don't read too much of the bad stuff. There is a lot of trauma. It's a trauma. But you can't go. I just don't think I'm actually unlearning how to not lead with thinking of trauma only. I don't want to go in that way.
But you're also accounting for it. So here's what I would say about your drawbridge is in a sense, you have not pulled that drawbridge up because you're listening to stories. And some parents, I've heard stories of parents who want to ignore the race issue and raise a kid in a predominantly white community and not worry about their cultural heritage or their background or the birth family or any of those things and don't understand the problems that can cause. So on the one hand, yes, I think you can go overboard and let it weigh you down and let it distract you from the love of your family or from like just the immediacy and wonder of being a mother.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you are listening. Like you moved to West Philadelphia. Like you want your child to grow up in a place where they are part of that being Black is part of life, a bigger part of life than other areas. And so I don't know. That's really interesting to hear about the drawbridge analogy from you, because I get the draw toward like, hey, drawbridge up. But when it comes to transracial adoption, I feel like you kind of, I don't know. I feel like that's not the right choice because of the kid.
Exactly. And it's funny because I once, we had to watch a lot of videos and do a lot of trainings leading up to this. And one of the videos that I watched that really stood out to me was a Jewish woman who decided to start taking her Black daughter to a Black church, which is awesome. But Black hair is really different. And this woman didn't know how to do her daughter's Black hair. And that is something I am learning to do by the Black women in my life. I'm getting better at it. I'm not great at it.
Yeah, it takes practice.
It takes a lot of practice, especially when she just wants to rock her head all over the place. But she said she took her to the church, and some of the women in the church came up to her and said, honey, come here. We need to help you with this. And they took her to a Black salon. And this woman felt this sense of relief by the fact that people wanted to help her. And that is something that has stood out in my mind, that if I hadn't heard that story, I might think, I don't want to annoy people, or like people are going to be looking down at me and being like, that white woman doesn't know how to do her hair. I'm like, You ask for help. It's for Stella. It is not for you. You embarrass yourself, whatever. And also, you're not going to embarrass yourself, because these women want to help Stella. They want to help Black babies. And the relief of just saying, I need help.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this. Can I take her to a Black salon? Yes, of course. Then it becomes this extension of the community. And then the drawbridge, you're so right. That drawbridge thing. Can I swear? No.
You can swear. But here's the thing. I bleep them out, but mostly because I think it sounds funny.
I love that. Okay, I love that even more. The drawbridge, because the drawbridge doesn't let those people in that want to help us too.
Yeah.
And also my whole story is there's not one mom.
Yeah.
There's not one family. So I took her down to be with her family. I love the drawbridge being down now, because now there's like tons and tons of people. It's funny because, when I brought her to the family, we were on the great grandmother's house, which is crazy. And the first thing the birth mother did was she took Stella between her legs and started doing her hair. And I almost started crying.
Oh, yeah.
And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And one of the grandmothers or aunts or something said, oh, she's with her mom. And they looked at me like, uh-oh.
Ooh.
And I said, no, she's her mom.
Yeah.
She's her mom. She's her mom too. We're both her mom. That's okay. I want Stella to hear that.
Yeah. It reminds me of Angela's idea of the ghost kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Which is the kids that don't get to experience that most often will have to kind of imagine it up in this really tragic way, that you're giving your child something concrete. It's not a ghost kingdom. These are real people that can have a place in her mind and heart.
Yeah. Right now I'm working on a book, and I want to put on her wall too, where we're getting pictures of people in her family, my husband's Taiwanese family, my Italian family, and Stella's biological family.
Yeah.
Because I want her to see all of them and see who she thinks she looks like, and be familiar with their faces, so that when we go down again, because we're going to, they're not strangers. But I don't know. It's screwed up, man. It's a very, adoption is a trauma. It is. Yeah. So I know that, and I'm trying my best. I'm going to screw up so many things. It's going to be so hard. And I don't know. It's helpful to have someone like Angela, though. It really is.
When you mentioned that the system has real issues, what are just some basic things you'd like to see change?
Well, I think Angela has it down. It's like, could we have offered support to the birth mom. You know, she was not in a place where she could sustain her family. Could we have offered, a Black woman more support? Yeah, like, so it goes back so far. It's stuff that I can't really fix. So I think that's the biggest problem with it to me, that the entire system has to change, and that's something I can't change.
Yeah. Well, if you can't change it, knowing how it is, then what kind of advice would you give to people who are looking at adoption?
I guess just open adoption, just learn everything you can. And I feel like open adoption is a really healthy way to do it. And I think that I notice a lot of the stories that I read that are really hard. I think that they're less hard if the adoption is open. Everything's going to be hard. And also, I don't know if the birth family will want to be like, they might go in and out, and I have to be okay with that. We all have to be okay with that. I'm going to show up. I'm going to bring, be there. But also just listening to the stories of people that are adopted. I think that's something we can all do, and let them. It's okay. Something else Angela says, it's okay to feel gratitude and loss.
Yeah.
Let them, that's an okay response and an okay feeling. And like, I can't get my feelings hurt if Stella is curious about her birth family. Of course not. Like, that's great. So, I feel like just listening to the stories of people that have been adopted, being as open as possible, and really respecting who she is as a person and where she comes from. But the other thing that I think is wrong with the system is just, I don't know how to fix this, but the idea of the money exchanged feels really strange, how expensive it is. And I think Angela even talked about that a little bit.
And where the money goes. Like,
where's the money
cost
going?
That much, yeah.
And if it costs that much, can we give some of that money to some of these birth mothers who need help? So I feel like and the murkiness of it, Blair. The murkiness. I understand a lot of the reasons that there's murkiness, but it's just absolute murkiness. And maybe that's one of the reasons that I was so hungry for honest conversations and what Angela has to say in the episode that you provided on your podcast. So yeah, and that's why I'm also glad you let me talk about it, because I just think I want people to stop calling me a hero.
The hero.
I want people to understand that open adoption is like awesome. And also that it's okay for women to be like, yeah, I want to do this. It's a great thing. It's it's up and it's great.
Well, that's where I want to kind of wrap up, is what your favorite parts are about being a mom, what this life is like. And is it like what you imagined it might be?
It's not at all, because I wasn't sure I wanted to be a mom. And this is screwed up, Blair, but I remember thinking I didn't want a girl. This is so screwed up. I didn't realize this until afterwards. I didn't want a girl because I was like, I'm not going to like this like too much. Like, I'm going to like it, but like, I'm very independent. I've been an independent person my whole life. Like, I was like, I'm going to need my alone time. Like, this is going to be. So if it's a boy, Justin and the little boy can go do boy things. Bye-bye. I'm going to get a manicure. Okay. And
this is just kind of noise in your head, right? Like, you're not writing this in a journal or something.
No.
Sort of just the atmosphere of your thinking, right?
I hadn't put words to it until recently. And I realized recently, yes, it's the exact opposite. All I want to do is spend every single second with her. I weirdly don't even have like mom guilt about work, because I'm just like, it's hard, but I'm like, I'm doing the best I can at all times. I don't know. Like, all I want to do is be with her. She's so much cooler than me. She's so fun. All I want to do is be with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing is as hard as I thought it would be. I didn't give birth to her, so there's a lot of things that I didn't have to do. But, maybe it's because I'm an older mom and I've had hard things and I've had bad jobs, depressing things happen. So all the really, really hard things that people were like, being a new mom is going to be this hard. When I actually went through it, I was like, is that all? Because I've done hard things before and they were not rewarding. This is incredibly rewarding. So I'm obsessed with it in a way that I was not prepared for.
Wow. That's Lauren Passell, founder of Tink Media. They're a podcast growth and discovery company. And the newsletter that Lauren does is Podcast the Newsletter. You can find it at podcastthenewsletter.com. and great podcast recommendations. I
Thank you.
read all of these. They're long. You do a pretty long one, but you make it skimmable.
Yeah.
But I love just popping through and saying, "Oh, what is there a show in here I want to check out?" You're great at just digging out
Thank
these
you.
fun little shows.
Thank you for reading it. It means a lot to me because it takes
Yeah.
a lot of time. And sometimes I'm like, why do I do this? I could be playing with Stella.
Exactly. Well, I hope people will check it out too. And Lauren, thanks for joining us on Relationscapes. This has been fun.
Thanks for having me, Blair.
Thanks for listening to Relationscapes, episode 50. Here's to 50 more. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. I hope you'll check out some of the past episodes. There's a lot of great stuff to choose from. You can also help me celebrate by reviewing the show in Apple Podcasts or rating it in Spotify. It's easier to rate it in Spotify, but it's really satisfying to rate and review it in Apple Podcasts. You get to see your own words. Oftentimes I'll read your review on the show, right? Maids of State provides our theme song. Relationscapes is part of the Dialogue Podcast Network. I'm journalist Blair Hodges in Salt Lake City, and I'll see you again soon.